Hey guys, want to shoot a quick video for the Gen 6 454 for the Corsair 25. This is the piston assemblies that I just finished pressing. I'll run through this jig here in a second. Again, the data storage on my phone is kind of maxed out, so I'm going to run through this fairly quickly. I just want to show the fitment and how precise everything turned out. When I pulled this engine apart, several of these con rods were just stuck in place. There was a lot of galling in the piston to wrist pin connection. So this is how they should look. Very nice, you know. I tell you what, let me do this. I'm going to go through some really fast motion, show you how easy they move. Okay. This is almost like an outboard engine with ball bearings. And then what I do is, after I finish, obviously I'm going forward and back like that, so it lets you know that any side movement, the con rod is free. Obviously, when let me get the camera there. This lets you know that the piston is going to rock with positively no interference at all. So you know, you're just looking for that click and excellent movement. Because you'd be surprised. I think the number is, I think the piston travels up and down the cylinder about 50 times a second. It's, oh shit, that one's hot. I just finished that one. So you know, any bit of stiffness or restriction equates to the engine having to work much harder to go through the motion. Again, this one's, yeah, it's just really warm. This is the last one I just did. Let me grab my glove because I want to show you something on that one. Or I could have showed it on anyone, really. See that fitment right there? How it's sticking out? Perfectly balanced on the other side. That means that I have the connecting rod perfectly centered within everything. Again, I think my phone's about to shut down because of the storage space. But you see what I'm talking about? Very nice centering. And on that note, basically this little jig here is kind of a cowboy's way of doing it, but it works. You know, it's cool. You set your piston right here and you adjust this rod. I use that piston just because it's the same height, and then there are screws that go through that, fasten it to the table, so there's no movement whatsoever. Screwed to the bench back there. Piston goes up here, sits in place. Then I can adjust this rod like as a depth gauge, so that when the wrist pin goes in, I can stop that pin wherever I want, because yeah, I don't think I'm going to have a rod here. Anyway, let's say this were the rod, because when you heat the rod, when you put it in here, the first thing that happens is the rod goes all the way up against one side, so it's automatically offset. So you have to offset that to counter when the pin goes through. Everything is actually to the left, you know, and then you hold it for a second, then you oil it, and then you start moving it around. The reason I'm having to explain this is it's really frustrating, because I had the camera set up and was going through, I was showing the assembly of one, and I don't know what it is about this camera, but it cuts off if it's sitting still, and or if there's no voice communication. So it's kind of strange. It's really frustrating that I wasn't able to at least video one of the installs, but as you can see, they're perfect now. And these are directional, and I'll see the fitment to the right of the top of the piston. That's the number 2, and obviously that in a standard rotation that will point to the front of the engine. So these are directional. In other words, these connecting rods are directional. These rods over here, they are turned 180 degrees in relation to this bank of rods. So it's critical that you get that right for the proper oiling. And that's probably about enough information right there. No sense in going through the caps, but everything's ready to assemble. Thanks, guys.